Well, hello everybody. I want to do this live a little bit earlier than I said. My good friend and longtime follower, Cathy McMaster, phoned me today. I was at the lake with my friend Troy, Clint, and Todd. We were making a day of it boating, and on our way back, she called me and asked me to come to Sherwood Park. She said, Dave Garnett Genus, the MP for the riding, is having his last day for the summer because of the big break, and he's showing up in Shore Park to address all those in his community. And of course, Cathy's been trying to get a hold of him for a very, very long time, and she figures this is it. This is the day. Dave, could you please come? And I have my girls. It's our summer break too. My daughter graduated. My other finished her final exams, and so I have them too. And we do want to go out to Sherwood Park. They really want to go out and see the bison out that way. I was hoping it would work, but it's not going to work. So I'm doing this video for Cathy, as she's going to talk to Garnett, or attempt to tonight. And this is explosive. If nobody has ever looked at it, and I'm getting a lot of messages here. I should have turned off notifications. If no one's ever looked at this stuff, it's horrific, and just how horrific it is. So we all witnessed the massive, massive union strike of the public sector workers just concluding 8 weeks ago, and it was done undemocratically. It was forced upon those workers. And everyone complained about a lot of things. They thought working from home, too many holidays, not enough in the office work. Well, folks, beyond the public sector workers and their new deal on minimum days to spend a year in the office that they did get a little bit of leeway on, is your federal MPs. I can't make this up. They are so flagrant, so confident that all of you are too simple, too uninvolved, and they've institutionalized you enough that you wouldn't look at the gross travesty of the Canadian crown from 1950 to 1980 and what people all rose up in Canada to do to their federal MPs. They said, you get your butts back to work. We have planes, we have this, we have that. You don't spend 60% of your time on holidays and living out of the country. You don't do that. You should be at work in session for at least 75% of the time, and then there should be a time where you spend at home in your electoral offices. Because I'm going to tell you, folks, in Canadian history, after the UK crown handed over, again, this is for all Canadians and absolutely all First Peoples. When the UK handed over the crown to the Canadian government federally and provincially, federal crown, provincial crown, ultimately was done in 1952. We lost the Jay Treaty in 1956, done by the federal crown, okay? Federal crown, all Indian Act Indians, that's on you. The lands of the provincial crown, the province must work with the federal crown to get deals with you, and they never do, as you all should understand this. Now, MPs, since that 1952 all the way up to 1980, became ultimate pigs at the trough. They were sitting in 365 days only 50% of the time. A little more than teachers, 180 days. That's it. And that included what they spent in their electoral district offices. Folks, they all get an office paid for by all of you. Now, I'm not a tyrant. I'm not a radical. But I think as a Canadian, if you want to be elected and get this massive salary, this massive expense account, an office, a paid for assistant, and all of these wonderful things, you should be at work at least 75% of the year. Whether that is divided up to your district office or parliament. Folks, as you know, COVID-19 came and went. None of them sat on any full-time basis or nowhere near 20% of those years. Nowhere near. In fact, many were gone on a jet plane out of the country, living abroad. Living abroad on your money. And their excuse was, we can do everything in our work from home. We don't need to even be in the country. We'll Zoom. Some of them, I should say, found naked, whether they were entertaining themselves or entertaining somebody else. Some were found on jogging trips in Europe and France, listening on a headset while they morning jog. This is what you got. Now, COVID is over. COVID's been over for a very long time. Now, your federal government was very, very, very slow at implementing the return to normal. Much, much slower than the rest of us, especially the private sector. None of us got any kind of break during COVID. I know I didn't. In fact, the most travel I've done in Canada for work in my life was done during COVID. I worked through the whole thing right across Canada. How did your politicians do and what are they doing now? Federal MPs, since the end of COVID, over a year now, for all of you wondering, they have their offices. I can go to Stony Plain. There's the office. Where's Dane Lloyd? Nowhere to be found. Anytime I've ever been home, nowhere to be found. If you want to find him, check out the sitting calendar. If he's not there, he should be in Parliament, right? Wrong. Not there either. The calendar's there for all of you. It shows clearly your MPs since COVID-19 now only work 120 days a year. That's it. Astronomical holidays. Astronomical beyond anyone in the public sector. You cannot find a single public sector worker who spends as much holiday time as a federal MP. They're off the charts. They've returned to the 1952 to 1980 pigs at the trough. None of them are saying nothing. Why is Pierre Poilievre on permanent campaign mode? Why is Pierre Poilievre constantly in new towns, new provinces on a 1-year campaign trail? Because he doesn't spend any time in the parliament. He spends no time at home in his electoral district office. He's paid to campaign. Guess what that is, folks? Illegal. My own union, Local 73, New Brunswick, entertained Pierre Poilievre last week in their local, in New Brunswick. That's not his EDA office, and he's in Parliament sitting at the time. You'll find hundreds of videos of him all year. The man has never worked a day in his life. Just like who else? Justin Trudeau. He's been all over the U.S., all over the world on permanent holidays. Now, these are the two leaders of the two mainstream parties. Folks, what do you think the validity and truth is that 60% of the MPs across all parties elected to office are not even in the country at near 2/3 of the time of the year? The answer is it's 100% deadly accurate. The media showed you during COVID when they were locking you down, and that has only continued. This is the filth, the disgust, the perversion of the crown. Cathy, you have this one miraculous day of the year where Garnet Genus decides to grace his electoral district. What a celebration. I can't believe it. Everybody pull up a chair. He's decided to grace his electoral district with his presence. Ask him that question. Cathy, ask him that question. Are you entitled to only 120 days a year sitting and time in this electoral district office? What power gives you that right to cheat people out of their taxpayer dollars? And the answer is the crown does, Cathy. His crown. He is a pig at the trough. These guys all know what they are doing, which brings me to the poll I held that nobody was truly interested in so far yet today. We'll see how things go, but who makes the most money and works the least and has the most holidays beyond all the teachers in Canada, all jurisdictions, all provinces? The answer is Alberta Legislative Assembly members, your MLAs, member of the Legislative Assembly of Alberta. Are you ready, folks? 2023. No COVID for months and months. Legislation, in fact, the other way. Months and months. We can go beyond this year. We can go all the way back to Jason Kenney. Here's a question for all Albertans. When's the last time a law was tabled and passed in the province of Alberta? Well, that would be Jason Kenney. What? Jason Kenney's been gone since last year. We had a new leader elected. We even had a general election. Albertans, your members of the Legislative Assembly will work 38 days this year. They're not working right now. All opposition, all sitting MLAs for the government UCP. They have not worked a lick, not a lick, since January, and even quite a bit before that. Not one day's work. Not one. They're the highest paid, longest on holiday public employees in all of Canada by a huge margin. Man, wouldn't it be nice to be getting $12,000 a month to go live in another country until it's time to go back and work in October? But don't get excited, Albertans, because they're only going to sit to the first snowfall of November, and then they're going back on holidays. 38 days. That's all you're going to get out of your constituency office of your member of the Legislative Assembly, combined with their time in the Alberta legislature. Beyond COVID, beyond pigs at the massive Alberta trough. There's been all kinds of news for months. Oh, Smith's tabling, Smith's doing that, Smith's doing this. Smith hasn't passed a single law because the legislature's been prorogued. It's been that way since a year ago today, just over a year. There's been nothing happening, and even less at the constituency offices. Any of you can go to your local constituency office. Any of you can pick up the phone. You pay for those phone services. You pay for that assistant. You pay for that office. You pay. But nobody's home. They're almost all out of country, living the high life. Pigs at the trough. Much, much worse than the federal government, who's way out of control. So what does that make the province of Alberta? This should disgust everybody. Think of those big ministerial salaries, the massive expense accounts, the travel in the name of we care about you, the Albertan. They ain't doing any work for you. They're enjoying life for them. They're filling their pockets as much as they can and laughing at all of you. This is absolutely all of the NDP and all of the UCP. They've been enjoying the high life for a very, very long time. COVID only turns your government into a lazy, thieving cheat who doesn't want to pop the titty out of the mouth. And I'm sorry to say it like that, but it's the taxpayers' tit that they are sucking dry and delivering nothing. Let's go over some things that are critical and huge in the country. Housing, affordability, energy. Hello, I thought we were going through a massive energy transition. Where are the politicians? Where's the direction going forward? What's happening to Alberta? I just had major debates on Twitter, literally hundreds of them just over the last 2 days on energy. Brian Jean posts useless meme, more rhetoric. We're going to fight Ottawa. If that was true, you guys would be sitting in the legislature fighting Ottawa, crafting legislation to see that happen. But not a day's work has been done since Jason Kenney prorogued the legislature. Justin Trudeau has taken many, many breaks. You don't hear Pierre Poilievre complain one bit. In fact, they talk about all this corruption, but Pierre's certainly enjoying traveling around Canada, unrestricted, unfettered. It's against the law, Canadians. You have laws. I know, I was in it. See, there's laws for thee, but when you're an elected politician, not for me. Cathy, that's more of the crown. Why is Pierre Poilievre allowed to consistently campaign? If I did that, I would be arrested. That's the truth, folks. You can't campaign outside of the election period. You need the writ dropped and then you can campaign. So why are they allowed to? Because they're crown. They hold a crown, and Pierre Poilievre is a lifetime registered Privy Council member for the rest of his life. It's been that way since 2008. He's a special, privileged, not subject to the law like the rest of us. Justin Trudeau's the same thing. Look at all the scandals. In fact, I can take you on a prorogation scandal history lesson. We can go through all the way back to Jean Chrétien and every single prime minister, whether it was liberal or conservative, and how many times they prorogued Parliament in the face of scandal. All they have to do is, the crown, Governor General, quick, prorogue. Pow, and it's done. The law doesn't count for any of your politicians. And there's levels of that. It can get a lot brutaler on how much they can breach the law, and nothing can be done about it. There's no calling 911. There's no RCMP. There's no city cop if it's in your jurisdiction. There's no state cop, which we call sheriffs in Alberta, or legislative assembly polices throughout the country. There's no provincial police force that's able to arrest these crown-positioned persons when they get to a certain level. And I have all 142. They are without crime. They're criminals, but they're without crime, meaning nobody can go after them. And I mean nobody. They're untouchable. And they can breach any laws and nobody says anything. And they do it to each other and they don't care. Justin Trudeau says nothing. He says, well, as long as you let me get away with all of my scandals. We scandal, right? Oh, well, I can't arrest this politician. I'd have to arrest myself. We've got to keep all the politicians happy and all the taxpayers suffering. Look at it, folks. Where's the housing crisis being addressed? It isn't. There's no laws on it. Zero, in fact. Where are you going to get the laws? You need somebody sitting in a parliament or a legislature to address that. What about energy poverty? Who's addressing that? Oh, I forgot. You need somebody in parliament and legislature to address that. They're not going to address it, folks. And in Alberta, none of these things they've talked about on the news are going to be addressed. If you had real news media, if we weren't like Cuba, Venezuela, I could go on to a whole pile of other countries, even China to a degree. If we weren't exactly like those countries, we would have an independent media that would be telling you what I'm telling you today. Yeah, so when a guy like Garnet Genius, after a year's time, shows up like the long lost prodigal son in his electoral district to show up for the public like it's some kind of massive parade. Look, my elected official that I pay an exorbitant amount of money every year has decided to grace us with his presence, even though he's scheduled to be there consistently throughout the year and it's labeled, but they never even show up. They don't even show up for those limited sittings in Parliament, which aren't very many at all. It's so low, in fact, it predates 1950. And they know none of you care. You're all too simple to understand, according to them, and you're too institutionalized to care. You think it's their right. So they're entitled. So they're going to take more and shaft taxpayers more. The idea of conservative, liberal, NDP, and all these other party names is a joke. The joke is that you believe it. The joke is that you don't see serious corruption, serious divine socialists, fascists really, who believe it's their right to barely turn out a day's work in months, and that's normal. Little Twitter post here, little Facebook post there, show up for a parade day here and there. Your municipal politicians do a heck of a lot more than both your provincial and federal politicians, at least in the province of Alberta. I bet you if we all raise our hand, when's the last time you even saw an MLA in the last year grace your community's presence in any meaningful way? The answer is not much at all, because most of them aren't even in the country. They're out on the beach somewhere. They're out spending money on their extension family abroad or back home in their circumstances, because Canada is that foolish not to make laws on people who take highest office should be Canadian for a minimum amount of time. But they don't care. Look at our immigration program. Nothing getting done for any Canadian. Everything everybody's worried about, none of it's being looked at, none of it's being touched. The agendas, all of the things that they say, oh yeah, no laws to keep up with what's going on in the world is passing us by, no laws to change the situation with China or anything else. It's all status quo, which means we're going down, everybody else is going up at our tremendous expense. Although politicians fill their pockets, get wealthier. Cathy, when you see him, you say, please tell everybody in this community why you think you only have to work 30% of the time comparatively to just 4 years ago. Why do you feel entitled, like a liberal socialist extremist, believe that you don't have to visit this community even a day a month, even though he's supposed to be there a week a month, folks? A week serving the community. How come he's never there? Ask him that. Where does he get that authority? Oh yeah, the crown. The crown that he pretends he doesn't know anything about. The crown that allows him to thief, steal, and rape at the taxpayer's expense. All for nothing and nothing for everyone. That's what it is. That's my video. Thanks, everybody. Share. Credible, real, verifiable. Alberta's schedule will make everybody drop their mouth. I don't see how you could be a loyal NDP, a loyal UCP, and think that any way, shape, or form, any single one of them deserved $1 over the last year, let alone their massive expenses and their world holiday touring. In the name of what? In the name of what work were you doing for who? Explain it. You can't. Which means you really got to look to yourself. What's wrong with you? Share. It's real, credible, and verifiable. Go poll the Alberta Legislative Assembly sitting schedule 2023. It'll make your mouth drop and hit the floor. Go look at the parliamentary sitting schedule 2023. That's unbelievably bad. 120 days. And that includes all the days they're to spend at their electoral district offices as well, too. It's all color-coded for all you folks. 120 days. 1980, we said enough. 50% was BS. Now it's 30%. Just like that. A lot has changed with COVID for a lot of people. A lot of people struggling post that. We all got devalued. Things have never been as expensive. The government says they're going to deal with it. They're going to deal with it. They're going to deal with it. When are they going to deal with it? When their longest running holidays in the history of Canada are over? Is that when they're going to deal with it? Next year maybe? Or the year after? I'm curious. Albertans, when are the Alberta UCP and NDP going to deal with it? In October or November? And if not, don't worry about it. We'll see you in 2024. Because they certainly haven't done sweet diddly do all year long. And a good chunk of last year as well, too. Media has nothing to say about it. Right? We're like Venezuela and Cuba now. Oh, no, zip my lip. No, they're paying us a pretty good chunk of change to tell the stories that are BS. To scare people and tell them that all these legislators are going to do this, they're going to do that, they're going to do this. But that takes a sitting legislator. That takes a legislator in a house, the parliament, in the Alberta legislature. You got to be in there. The law has to be passed there and ascended by the lieutenant governor. So if you're not sitting, nothing's happening. So everything is fake. BS and baloney. And every month we're paying heavy-duty dollars for someone to sit in Hawaii, Costa Rica, Spain, Portugal, Italy, France, Paris. That's how it works. As sad as it really is. That's my video. Share, share, share. Credible, real, 100% verifiable. Bye now.